somebody just copy language from someplace else, and that language included form of discrimination. It has no place in this bill. It serves no purpose. And for the record, I'm going to read the language as it is with that, then I'm going to read the language without it. You should note how many specific items are listed, more than you'll find in an ordinary statute. Beginning at line 6 on page 1. Adverse action means the discharge of an employee, a threat against an employee, or any other form of discrimination against an employee that negatively affects the employee's employment, including actions that affect the employee's compensation, work location, rights, immunities, promotions, privileges, or other terms and conditions of employment. If those things are violated, they are covered by ordinary rules and laws that govern non-retaliatory action against an employee. Here's the way the part would read that I'm dealing with. Adverse action means the discharge of an employee, a threat against an employee, or any other act against an employee. These other things should not be under the rubric discrimination. So it would read this way with my amendment. Adverse action means the discharge of an employee, a threat against an employee, or any other act against an employee that negatively affects the employee's employment and so forth. Whoever put this together does not understand grammar or syntax very well. The language that follows, whether you use discrimination or act, is modified or elaborated on by the language that follows. And it is an overabundance of language for what is intended to be accomplished. If they said adverse action means the discharge of an employee, a threat against an employee, or any other act that negatively affects the employee's employment, that would be sufficient. But since Senator Larson, if he read this, he didn't understand it, did not see the surplusage, and therefore a lot of unnecessary language is in this bill. So if you reject this amendment, which you probably will, reflexively, I should have a bell like Pavlov and ring the bell and produce the conditioned response. Then I will offer an additional amendment that will strike a lot of this unnecessary surplusage. And if you don't accept that amendment, then when we get to select file, you will see them all again. This is an easy bill to deal with because it offers so many opportunities to offer worthwhile amendments that would improve it. But you're not going to do that because you're locked into it. The brain trust is at work here. Very inferior legislation when it comes to the drafting of it. But the body will go along with it, and all I can do is call attention to it and mock you for not manifesting the educational acumen that you ought to have from having gone to school, and having as little of that on your own and for yourself. You spent a good while today talking about education for children who are not given a fair break. Who are you to talk about their education when you don't have any yourself? Thou that sayest, read. Dost thou know how to read? Some of you think that reading consists only in passing your eyes over the words on a page, maybe even grasping what some of those words mean. But if those words combine to produce a thought, you are not able to grasp the significance or meaning of that thought. And this is what you bring when you go to a university. When people leave a high school in America, those people don't know how to read in the sense of understanding what they read. If you give them a passage that contains more effort producing content than what is in a newspaper column, and you let them read it and ask what it means, they will just repeat in maybe different words what they already read. If you are a teacher and you tell them that is not what it means, that is what it said, and the student, bewildered because the student has never been challenged in that way, says, well, it just means what it says. But the teacher said there is something that the words mean beyond what the words say. When you look at that passage, what do you think of? And the student says, well, mostly nothing. And the teacher says, that's what we're going to work on. We're going to take it a word at the time. We're going to take it a sentence at the time. We're going to take it a paragraph at the time. And what we're going to teach you first is to write a proper sentence to begin a paragraph with. Then the other sentences that you write will elaborate on that sentence. You would not say, for example, you should keep your eye on the ball, your nose to the grindstone, your shoulder to the wheel, your feet in water that doesn't go above your ankles, and feel that you've said something. You have a subject. If it's a person, it's the actor. You have a predicate. The word is a verb, and it transmits action from the actor. And if it goes so far as to say what is to be done, then the object of that action is included. And if you give students a step-by-step understanding, you would be surprised at what they do grasp